Chapter 27 of Initials Only. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Initials Only by Anna Catherine Green. Book 3, The Heart of Man. Chapter 27, The Image of Dread. In the comfortable little sitting room of the Scott cottage, Doris stood, looking eagerly from the window which gave upon the road. Behind her, on the other side of the room, could be seen through a partly open door a neatly spread bed, with a hand lying quietly on the patched coverlet. It was a strong-looking hand which, even when quiescent, conveyed the idea of purpose and vitality. As Doris said, the fingers never curled up languidly, but always with the hint of a clench. Several weeks had passed since the departure of Sweetwater, and the invalid was fast gaining strength. Tomorrow he would be up. Was Doris thinking of him? Undoubtedly, for her eyes often flashed his way, but her main attention was fixed upon the road, though no one was in sight at the moment. Someone had passed for whose return she looked, someone whom, if she had been asked to describe, she would have called a tall, fine-looking man of middle age, of a cultivated appearance, seldom seen in this small manufacturing town, seldom seen possibly in any town. He had glanced up at the window as he went by in a manner too marked not to excite her curiosity. Would he look up again when he came back? She was waiting there to see. Why, she did not know. She was not used to indulging in petty suppositions of this kind. Her life was too busy, her anxieties too keen. The great dread looming ever before her, the dread of that hour when she must speak, left her very little heart for anything disassociated with this coming event. For a girl of 17, she was unusually thoughtful. Life had been hard in this little cottage since her mother died, or rather, she had felt its responsibilities keenly. Life itself could not be hard where Oswald Brotherson lived. Neither to man nor woman. The cheer of some natures possesses a divine faculty. If it can help no other way, it does so by the aid of its own light. Such was the character of this man's temperament. The cottage was a happy place, only she never fathomed the depths of that only. If, in these days, she essayed at times to do so, she gave full credit to the dread which rose ever before her, rose like a ghost. She, Doris, led by inscrutable fate, was waiting to hurt him who hurt nobody, whose mere presence was a blessing. But her interest had been caught today, caught by this stranger, and when, during her eager watch, the small messenger from the works came to the door, with the usual daily supply of books and magazines for the patient, she stepped out on the porch to speak to him, and to point out the gentleman who was now rapidly returning from his stroll up the road. "Who is that Johnny?" she asked. "You know everybody who comes to town. What is the name of the gentleman you see coming?" The boy looked, searched his memory, not without some show of misgiving. "A queer name," he admitted at last. "I never heard the likes of it here before. Shally something. Challoner? Yes, that's it. How could you guess? He's from New York. Nobody knows why he's here. Don't seem to have no business." "Well, never mind. Run on, Johnny, and don't forget to come earlier tomorrow. Mr. Brotherson gets tired waiting." "Does he? I'll come quick then, quick as I can run." And he sped off at a pace which promised well for the morrow. Challoner! There was but one Challoner in the world for Doris Scott. Edith's father. Was this he? It must be, or why this haunting sense of something half remembered as she caught a glimpse of his face. Edith's father, and he was approaching rapidly on his way back to town. Would he stop this time? As the possibility struck her, she trembled and drew back, entering the house, but pausing in the hall with her ear turned to the road. She had not closed the door. Something within, a hope or a dread, had prevented that. Would he take it as an invitation to come in? No, she was not ready for such an encounter yet. He might speak Edith's name. Oswald might hear, and With a gasp, she recognized the closeness of his step, heard it lag, almost halt, just where the path to the house ran into the roadside. But it passed on. He was not going to force an interview yet. She could hear him retreating further and further away. The event was not for this day, thank God. She would have one night at least in which to prepare herself. With a sense of relief so great that she realized for one shocked moment the full extent of her fears, she hastened back into the sitting room with her collection of books and pamphlets. A low voice greeted her. It came from the adjoining room. "Doris, come here, sweet child. I want you." How she would have bounded joyously at the summons, had not that dread raised its bony finger in every call from that dearly loved voice. As it was, her feet moved slowly, lingering at the sound, but they carried her to his side at last, and once there, she smiled. "See what an armful!" she cried in joyous greeting as she held out the bundle she had brought. "You will be amused all day. Only do not tire yourself." "I do not want the papers, Doris, not yet. There's something else which must come first. Doris, I have decided to let you write to her. I'm so much better now, she will not feel alarmed. I must get a word from her. I'm starving for it. I lie here and can think of nothing else. A message, one little message of 6 short words would set me on my feet again. So get your paper and pen, dear child, and write her one of your prettiest letters." Had he loved her, he would have perceived the chill which shook her whole body as he spoke. But his first thought, his penetrating thought, was not for her, and he saw only the answering glance, the patient smile. She had not expected him to see more. She knew that she was quite safe from the divining look. Otherwise he would have known her secret long ago. "I'm ready," said she. But she did not lay down her bundle. She was not ready for her task, poor child. She quailed before it. She quailed so much that she feared to stir lest he should see that she had no command over her movements. The man who watched without seeing wondered that she stood so still and spoke so briefly, but only for a moment. He thought he understood her hesitation, and a look of great earnestness replaced his former one of grave decision. "I know that in doing this I am going beyond my sacred compact with Miss Challoner," he said. "I never thought of illness, at least of illness on my part. I never dreamt that I, always so well, always so full of life, could know such feebleness as this, feebleness which is all of the body, Doris, leaving the mind free to dream and long. Talk of her, child. Tell me all over again just how she looked and spoke that day you saw her in New York." "Would it not be better for me to write my letter first? Papa will be coming soon, and Truda can never cook your bird as you like it." Surprised now by something not quite natural in her manner, he caught at her hand and held her as she was moving away. "You are tired," said he. "I've wearied you with my commission and complaints. Forgive me, dear child, and—" "You are mistaken," she interrupted softly. "I am not tired. I only wish to do the important thing first. Shall I get my desk? Do you really wish me to write?" "Yes," said he, softly dropping her hand. "I wish you to write. It will ensure me good sleep, and sleep will make me strong. A few words, Doris, just a few words." She nodded, turning quickly away to hide her tears. His smile had gone to her very soul. It was always a beautiful one, his chief personal attraction, but at this moment it seemed to concentrate within it the unspoken fervors and the boundless expectations of a great love, and she was the aim and cause of all this sweetness lay in unresponsive silence in a distant tomb. But Doris's own smile was not lacking in encouragement and beauty when she came back a few minutes later and sat down by his side to write. His melted before it, leaving his eyes very earnest as he watched her bending figure and the hard-worked little hand at its unaccustomed task. I must give her daily exercises, he decided within himself. That look of pain shows how difficult this work is for her. It must be made easy at any cost to my time. Such beauty calls for accomplishment. I must not neglect so plain a duty. Meantime, she was struggling to find words in face of that great dread. She had written "Dear Miss Challoner," and was staring in horror at the soulless words. Only her sense of duty upheld her. Gladly would she have torn the sheet in two and rushed away. How could she add sentences to this hollow phrase, the mere employment of which seemed a sacrilege,